Time to pull up a chair and talk some Dynasty football. I am your host, JJ Wenner, and this is the Rider Dynasty Podcast. Tonight, we tackle our top 12 rookie wide receiver prospects. Joining me, as always, is my co-host. You can find him on Twitter at JoeLow63. Joseph Harlow, how you doing, sir?
Hello, JJ. I'm doing swell. How are you?
Oh, couldn't be better. I couldn't be better. But I have to tell you, Joe, I was having a hard time deciding on who was going to be the first guest to this new iteration of the Rod Pod. And I guess you could say I was down and out, feeling low. But for some strange reason, it had to be. He guided me to Tennessee. That's right. From the Volunteer State. You can find him on Twitter at Sean8386, the one, the only Sean Teague. What is going on, my friend?
Glad to be here. Glad to be the first special guest. We'll say guest.
Well, you're definitely a special guest. I just don't know where the comma goes in that sentence.
For sure. My mom said she would love me either way, so.
Well, I'm not your mom. Gentlemen, we all had a great time this weekend being back in like football mode. People running around doing football stuff, football-like activities, I guess. Football-ish.
Football-like-ish. Adjacent.
Football-adjacent activities. Sean, what was your biggest takeaway from this weekend?
So, Michael Penix, I thought looked really good. I really didn't know how he was going to show up, for this. If that was just a lucky year out there, or if he would get injured while doing anything. But I thought he really separated himself from all the others that actually showed up and partook in the activities there. So,
yeah, I have to agree. I was a little bit low on him after just reading all the draft profiles, like seeing what's out there. And he did surprise me. That he can spin that ball, man. You love to see it. Joe, did anything jump out to you?
Honestly, the running backs really did. There's a lot of talent and fun there. There's still no Bijan. There's no Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't think there might be a Roshan Johnson level, Tyjae Spears level, one or two, but there's some interesting players there. There's a fight for running back one amongst a few guys, which we'll get into later on in this series, but they showed out. They showed enough. And honestly, the cornerbacks, not huge fantasy implications there, I don't think. But these corners, it's going to be a fun class.
Yeah, I have to say, for me, I loved watching the offensive tackles, man. They looked really good. And of course, everything's through Jets colored glasses for me. So like we need 3 tackles. I don't even know. We can't start 3, but we need 3. And I just really liked. Can they stop making them run the 40 though? Was anybody watching for that stretch where every other guy was like pulling a hammy?
At the same time, seeing Amarius Mims run a 5.05 or whatever is unreal.
But just watching the announcers be like, let's just do a 20. Like, come on now. Let's get rid of the 40. They don't need to show that. All right, gentlemen. Well, before we dive into the rookies, remember to check out all of our great content on idpguys.org for a limited time. Granted, we've been saying limited for about a month now. I don't know how limited a month is when it's 1/12 of a year, but sorry, for a limited time, you can get the first month for $1 if you use the code MOCKDRAFT. That's right. Get a taste of IDP Plus for just $1. And you'll be back for more. We promise.
It is a delicious little morsel.
Speaking of delicious morsels, Sean. No, I don't know where I was going. That was a segue to nothing. I don't know.
Chips to the moon. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. Ooh, maybe we should do that ranking show. Cookies.
I made some scones this morning. They're pretty yummy.
Damn, I made nothing this morning. But I taught kids about the Constitution.
So
Win-win. All right, gentlemen, we are going to be using, I don't know where this pod is going anymore. We're going to be using Joe's wide receiver rankings to order our rookies. So let's dive in with, I think, the consensus number one, generational player, can't miss prospect out of Ohio State, Marvin Harrison Jr. Joe?
Well, first of all, let's just look at the name, Marvin Harrison Jr. His dad was one of my favorite players on my favorite team. And growing up with him, Marvin Harrison Sr., as a Colts fan, was pretty damn fun. And his son is honestly even better. He's significantly bigger. He is, you look at, if for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see a little chart with some stats courtesy of PFF. See elite yards per route run at 3.18 and 3.44 over the last 2 years. And that's with high average depth of target. Even his biggest concern has been his run after the catch ability. But even looking this year at 6.4, that's not a crazy number. We'll get to some other guys who have a much higher number, but it's still a really significant good number. And for a player with a high volume of contested catches, if you watched Ohio State this year, their quarterback, he's fine, but a major, major drop off from CJ Stroud, which I mean, anyone is, but Kyle McCord was throwing him some ducks, led to a lot of drops for passes that no one not named Marvin Harrison could even get to. I think he had 8 drops this season, and most of those were like, well, is that really? It's a drop because he got there. It shouldn't have been a drop because a normal receiver couldn't get there. And even still, they knew he was the offense, especially with Julian Fleming struggling, Emeka Egbuka being hurt most of the year. Their running backs were hurt. They're on their 5th running back this year. And still contested catches, almost 50% conversion rate there, which is an absurd number. He's the whole package. He did not do anything at the combine because, why would he need to? No one's going to care if he runs if he ran a 4.44. Like, doesn't matter. He's great hands, runs great routes. There are some who are putting some other receivers over him now. I think that's really just a lot of prospect fatigue, like we talked about with Caleb Williams and Drake May last week.
Yep.
And honestly, it sucks for those other 2 receivers who we'll get to because they are near elite talents. But Marvin Harrison's the dude. Sean, what do you think about Marvin?
You just said it. He has elite DNA. He can do everything. He can do everything very well. Generational, like you said. I mean, I feel like everything's been said. Like, are we eventually going to overhype this guy? I mean, he could be the greatest receiver we've ever seen. Could be. He's definitely in line to be. I haven't seen anything I dislike. I love everything he's doing, has done. And if there was anybody that did not need to attend the combine, it was Marvin Harrison. I do realize that probably the first 7 picks in most fantasy drafts did not participate, which is wild. He's probably the only one that really didn't need to.
So, gentlemen, do we think he will be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft?
I don't think so. I think he'll go number 4. Just with positional value, I think there's going to be quarterbacks 1 through 3.
Okay. Sean?
I guess he's great enough to get him. Maybe wants to leapfrog some of these others. That would definitely be interesting. But yeah, top 4 for sure.
All right. So top 3 might be stretching it. I wonder what the over-under is. I guess I could have looked that up, but I don't bet. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to our second wide receiver. Rome Odunze. Where are we at, Joe?
I love Rome Odunze. He's such an awesome receiver. Michael Penix had a great year and great numbers, as Sean alluded to earlier. And Odunze was the main target there. Look at the similar stats, yards per route run, just under 3. And that's a great number. Anything over 3 is absurd for college. I think probably 2.1s is really in the NFL where that really is like, holy crap. ADOT, which is average depth of target, still really high. He was contested catch rate of 75%. And that's not 3 of 4. That was closer to, I think, 32 attempts he had. And that is an absurd conversion rate. He's a deep threat. The main thing with him is that he knows he's really good as a one-on-one jump ball receiver. So kind of would turn off the jets at times and just kind of go for that highlight catch. But that's something with coaching I do expect to be broken through. And then at the combine, he ran a 4.45, which I really was expecting it to be more of a 4.55. So that is a great number for him. And still at 6'3", 212, 217. I think 212 might have been in season and 17 at combine. He's in that range. Also, just to throw it in there, he's a really good blocker and a very willing blocker. So that's, even if when he has rookie struggles, he's going to still be on the field because of that. Sean, what are your thoughts on Rome?
Yeah, I'm really glad you threw in how great of a blocker he was, because I thought that did stand out more than any other receiver I've looked at here over the past week, which is another surefire way to get on the field as a rookie. If you can block, you're going to get on the field. So now we're getting more plays, more opportunities for more fantasy points, which is what we're really here for. For as big and physical as he is, he does have some problems getting off the line. But I feel like coaches, we can put him in motion. We can work around that. So he done fantastic at the combine. For the other two not showing up, other two being Harrison and Nabers, I really feel like he has shot his value up. And for you to have him over Nabers, you're not the only one doing it. Everybody's falling in love. So good on you, Joe.
Thank you. I will say I did have Odunze over Nabers before, and Malik Nabers is the next name. Just going to spoil that right away. But yeah, I had him over before the combine. Another one of those things where Malik Nabers, had he been there and Odunze not been there, nothing really would have changed it. But they're both phenomenal, like with Drake May and Caleb Williams from last week. Flip a coin.
Now, Joe, some people are mentioning that he doesn't generate a lot of separation. Do you think that will cause any issues at the next level?
I think most of the time, yes. But watching his film, it did look more of that he was just he knew he was great at jump balls, so didn't really need to get separation. It kind of turned down the Jets at times. I do think there was a lot of times on film where he is able to get separation. He's not the most explosive route runner, not in and out of break. He's in and out of breaks very well. It's not like otherworldly speed, but I don't see much of an issue with him getting enough separation at the next level.
Very good. Well, let's move ahead to our number 3, straight out of LSU. Sean, it's Malik Nabers.
Yeah, this one's for Ricky. Here we go. Probably the most versatile receiver out of this group. Inside, he can play in the slot very well. He can run pretty much any route. He can play outside. He can burn people. This dude is fast. So I'm a little upset we didn't get to see him at the combine and just see exactly how fast he is, because he does look really fast. I mean, he can be a deep threat. Runs his routes very well. I feel his catch radius is very good as well. Not a whole lot I don't think he, can't do. Maybe struggling a little bit with some catches that maybe I do feel like his wingspan isn't quite as big as some of the others. But man, he is you can see his contested catch percentage there is right there on par with the other guys. I mean, he's doing it all, and his yards per route run, 3.64. That's fantastic.
Third.
Joe?
Yeah. Only thing I would add there is expand upon is just the big play threat. This year, he had 34 plays of 20-plus yards. Just insane. And he played, I think, 12 and a half games. So like almost 3 a game, he's pulled 3 plays a game of 20-plus yards. Absolutely insane numbers. And like Sean said, the really only nitpick with him is like he's kind of a body catcher, but also has shown hands. It's kind of like I don't know. I don't think, like with Odunze's separation, I don't think it's a huge thing. But if there's some reason he fails, that's why. Because with windows getting tighter in the NFL, that would need to use your hands more. That would be the thing. But I would be shocked if that ended up derailing his career. He's the wide receiver 1 last year. in most classes, but this class, he just has the misfortune of Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze being there. And really, honestly, you hear people say they have Nabers over Harrison. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but it's like, I get it though. If you want the yards after catch monster, I compared him to Garrett Wilson, but bigger. And I know we've had some discussion on him on Mock Draft Mondays. I was not huge on Wilson, but I compared him to Garrett Wilson with like legitimate wide receiver skills, like already a refined wide receiver. So
now Malik is able to win like at all three levels. That's what you can see, right? Like short, intermediate, the deep passes. And I didn't see or read about any weaknesses in his game outside of a limited route tree, but he didn't have to run a lot of routes because he was great. If he busts, let's play the what if game. If he busts, what's going to be the reason, Sean?
Poor quarterback play. A guy just cannot get the ball to him, and probably a bad offensive line would be a big part of that. I would think it would be just about anything that he is out of control of. Poor offensive line play, bad quarterback play. If they can't get the ball to him, is it really him busting, or he could show up on another team and revive that career? Just going out there, I don't see anything that just screams red flag.
So outside of being drafted by the Jets or the Panthers, he should be
probably the Panthers. I think the Jets could at least hold him for 1 year.
All right, gentlemen. Well, we might as well move on to number 2. I mean, those top 3, everybody talks about consistently. So next in our rankings is Adonai Mitchell out of Texas. Joe?
This is higher than he'll be in most lists. I like what I think he's actually into watching his film. Very much expected a big deep threat, just over burner. He is fast. Ran a 4.35 at the combine despite being almost 6'4". I think you see conflicting numbers. Combine if he measured 6'4", 195, which is big boy. So yeah, and burner also is pretty refined as a route runner. Not a lot of experience, does look good. Yeah, he has good routes, bursts off the line. The big things with him are he'll drop ball at times. Doesn't have huge production in his career. If you look on the graphic, if you're watching on YouTube, I have a star into 2021, 2022. It's because he missed a lot of time to do various things. Then you look at the big time production. He played in 5 football championship games, and he had a touchdown in all of them.
Sean, your thoughts on Mitchell?
I do think, Joe's probably got him a little higher. But he does come across, pretty solid. Can do, I don't know if he's just really great at anything. I do feel he's fairly well-rounded. Probably could be more physical, but I don't see anything that couldn't be coached as far as, skill set flaws, to that degree. I feel like he's very coachable, and he's probably going to shock people because Joe said, he does have a little higher than most. So I imagined he would be more of a day 2 steal, maybe late first, something like that.
Yeah, I have seen him going in recent mocks in either late first or in the second round. Now, yes, he is learning. I get it. But who is he going to be in the pros? I'm not really sure what kind of receiver he's going to turn out to be. And do we think that he develops? There's a lot of quiet on the pod. Am I alone out there? Is anybody out there? Hello.
I was giving Joe a shout there. Might be having some issues. I think
Joe's having some connection issues.
Yeah, I think with his size, it definitely keeps him on the field. It's not like he's a 5'10", 150-pound guy out there. So he definitely has some size. What his role could be, I would say he would probably start out as like a third wide receiver on whichever team he goes to. I don't see him just jumping in and taking a number one spot, being a full-on deep threat or, possession kind of guy, whatever you want to go there. I do think he could eventually, by year's end, probably have a solid role. But I don't see him just coming out and being a team's, top target.
So what do you think, Joe? How confident are you that he develops?
Joe is absolutely speechless.
Sometimes, Sean, my questions, like this is what I'm used to when I talk to my students in class.
Oh, right.
They all just stare back at me, but it's okay. So what I normally do is just move on with my life and understand that maybe they don't really need to know about that part of American history. So let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about Jalen Polk. Oh, what did I have that wrong? Brian Thomas.
Yeah, we switched those.
Wrong. We did switch those, and I didn't switch them on my notes. That's my fault. So Brian Thomas, I'm very excited about, but I'm going to let you lead this, Sean, in honor of our boy Ricky.
Yeah, so here I am tearing up LSU just for him. Brian Thomas is probably my favorite wide receiver out of this group because his potential, like I almost want to put him in that top 3 category, but at times also want to drop him all the way down towards, 12, just because he can be a little frustrating with just the fact that he does take some plays off. Like he does get a little lazy out there. If the ball's not coming his way, he gets a little Randy Mossy from the Titans, era. He just kind of gives up. But dude is super fast. He led the league with led the nation with 17 touchdown catches. Phenomenal. I mean, he's a burner, gets great separation. He accelerates, he's not just fast. I mean, he can get there quick. So what's some of the knocks here? Sometimes he catches with his body too much. So I don't see him using his hands, but he has great hands. So again, it's that laziness that kind of comes up, or maybe he's overconfident. And his route tree has been limited. We haven't seen him do a lot of, intermittent work, go across the middle. So we don't know exactly what his toughness is. I would like to see that, worked on. He coached up. I don't think so. With the route tree that he has run, I don't know if he just wasn't asked to do more or if he's really limited. He may be, a route tree master, and we just don't know it because he wasn't asked to do so. But he has the potential to be. He has the potential to be the steal of this draft. If he really peaks with the skills that he has displayed, if he can be coached and is willing to be coached and to put in the, full effort, he could be, one of the best players out of this draft, I think.
I mean, his deep ball skills are ridiculous. He got 68.2% of passes over 20 yards.
Yeah,
I mean, that's astounding.
Right.
What are you thinking, Joe?
Yeah, I like Brian Thomas Jr. a lot. I am worried about his route running ability, like Sean was saying, but just it's very DK Metcalf.
Okay. George Pickens.
Yeah, there's a lot of big time production there, but there are concerns. He is the one who I could see busting if any of these like top 5 guys do, just off that limited route tree. But I do think he has all the good, a great receiver. Like Sean said, he could be a steal of the draft.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, why don't we move on then to the number 6 prospect? Joe, if you're good, can we talk about some Jalen Polk?
Jalen Polk is one of my favorite players to watch in this class, regardless of position. We talked about how great of a run blocker Rome Odunze is. There is one player who is similar caliber to that, and that is his teammate, Jalen Polk. Very good deep ball catcher, contested catches down the field. Little unrefined overall, but he's a young prospect. His 2 years at Washington, if you look at the numbers, his yards per out run, 1.84 to 2.8, or sorry, to 2.9, 2.29. Goodness. High average depths of target, has some run after the catch ability. I really think he's the full package. I don't expect him to be a first round pick. He's one who I actually have rated 4th just amongst NFL caliber receivers. He's very Brandon Ayuk, Chris Godwin to me, which I know those aren't super similar types of players, but that sort of, he needs a little development to get there. But I do think he can be a legitimate wide receiver 1 in this league.
Okay. Sean,
what are your thoughts on Polk?
Yeah, so I thought he done really well catching with his hands and tracking the ball. Some of these guys are kind of lazy about that and too many body catches. I do feel like he was one of the better ones that was really focused. I mean, not just tracking. I mean, like he's willing to go get the ball. So those are the kind of things I really like. That tells me, there's going to be less interceptions. Now your quarterback's going to care more about throwing you the ball because now you're making him look better too. So that's probably the biggest takeaway, and just his toughness. I really like that, just his physicality there.
Now, the only thing that worries me a little bit about him being a deep threat was his speed. And I know we're not supposed to count the 40 time, but can you be a deep threat with 4.5 speed?
So deep threat and, just a burner who's getting a touchdown every time is probably a little different. I mean, he can still make those deep catches. It doesn't have to be a touchdown every time. We're still moving the chains. We're still getting, big chunks of play. We're getting down into the red zone. So, now just jump up and go get it on the next play. But now I got extra points for PPR leagues. So I dig that.
Nothing wrong with some extra points from a PPR.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a Devontae Adams,
I'm on the edge of my
if you're
seat.
looking at like a Devontae Adams, a DeAndre Hopkins, great deep ball getters, but not burners. And I don't think Polk is that level of a player. Don't want to put that out there, but I think we've seen it before. I think it's doable.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, before we go ahead and move to our next prospects, Sean, I didn't know if you were aware, but IDP Plus is sponsoring the Lawrence Taylor division at Draft Night Out. Now, drafts are going to take place at the Fantasy Football Expo. I'm not sure if you two gentlemen are going, but you should if you can. But yeah, in August at the Fantasy Football Expo, we're going to be having some IDP drafts with Draft Night Out. In Between Media puts on an amazing event with music, raffles, and giveaways. So make sure you're checking them out on Twitter at Draft Night Out FF, and make sure you are signing up for a draft. Now, gentlemen, next up on our list is a giant of a man out of Florida State. We are talking about Keon Coleman. Joe?
Yeah, Keon Coleman, big time, big receiver. Not just like every big receiver. He has a lot of wiggle. He has ability he's their punt returner for Florida State this year. And he has that sort of athletic ability, that wiggle. He does have a lot of concentration drops, a lot of concentration issues with his route. We saw a lot of times that when he wasn't the primary game plan receiver, that he kind of gave up on routes, on just kind of everything. Blocking effort wasn't always there, but when they needed him, he made some spectacular plays. He definitely led the nation in the very scientific and very exact holy shit sort of play, but just with horizontal catches with one hand, jumping over players. His contested catch rate was low this year. They used him on that a lot. Kind of just get another thing with like Marvin Harrison, where he had a lot of misses on contested catches, but they shouldn't have even had a chance to be a contested catch in the first place. One of those where it's the numbers don't fully tell the story. But yeah, he has a big time potential. He could be a steal in this draft as well if he falls out of the first.
Sean?
My biggest thing with Coleman is where he's going to land, because I do feel like even though he has such great potential, I do think he needs coached up more than a lot of these other guys up top. So if he gets with the right, wide receiver coach or right quarterback coach, just great coaching in general, that's willing to put in the effort. And if he's willing to put in the effort, because he does have separation issues, his route running is a little hit and miss. But he's also shown flashes where, it's fantastic. Like his highs are so high and his lows are so low. I don't feel like he sticks in the middle so much. So definitely I want to know where he's going to land, and to know that he's going to have some good coaching. And he may actually take a little while to develop, but his potential is very exciting for sure.
Yeah, a really interesting combine note. I don't know if you guys saw the PFF tweet. We know he had the second slowest 40 at 4.61, but he had the highest speed during the gauntlet drill.
I've seen that.
Which is, so, he just might not be a quick accelerator. I don't know what that means, that it just takes him a long time to get up to a top speed. Again, maybe the 40 doesn't matter as much as we want. I am a little bit concerned, though, with the 33.3% contested catch rate, especially being 6'3", 213. But it's all based on quarterback, right? How much of a shot does he get at those balls?
Another thing I've seen in that gauntlet, he made just about every catch. And like you said, he went through it very fast. But I felt like he was double clutching a lot of those catches, which potentially in the middle of a game, that's a drop or an interception, or what I mean? So I would like to see, even though he's got, pretty good sized hands, I would like to see him really hold on to the ball and not just sit there and kind of bobble that. But I assume between the speed and trying to, get back and forth, that may have had something to do with it. Kudos to him for not dropping them all, but I would like to see a little more control in those catches.
All right, gentlemen, after that slight pause, which hopefully those watching and listening didn't really notice, we are going to go on to the Bulldog himself out of Georgia, Lad McConkey. Sean?
Yeah.
Oh, I get to jump in this one. Nice. So size-wise, he's a little small. He's not real small, but he's a little smaller than I would like. But look at his yards per route run, 3.26. Love it. 40% contested catch percentage. Loving that. He has good body control. Does really well getting open. I love his hands because he catches with his hands. He's not a big body catcher. Even so, I was looking at his hand size. His hand size were, I think, 8.5 or something like that. So a little smaller, but he doesn't have that many drop passes. So, I mean, really good hand strength for what he has. So I really like that. Great.
So are you saying it's not the size, but it's how you use them?
It's how you use it, JJ. I love that.
He has two hands.
Oh, well, it's dependent on the size. You don't need two hands. You know what I mean? He could, whatever. Are we still talking about football?
Were we ever? Joe, what do you think about McConkey?
I think he is a very good receiver, just walked on to the Bulldogs and started almost right away for them. Big issue with him is health. His numbers that are on the screen here look really good this year, but he missed a lot of time, and he did his freshman year, I guess, as well, or whatever his first year playing was. That's the big concern with him. Smaller frame, but that long speed as well he's electric. He ran a 4.39, which is sub 4.4. He's your typical white slot receiver, except you can add a 4.39 in there. Most of those guys are going to be running 4.5s. He is a legit burner. Start stop is incredible. He's not a physical runner or anything, but can get some yards after the catch just due to that speed and the ability to just break your ankles. So
as long as he breaks somebody else's ankles and not his own, we'll be good.
Exactly.
Right. It's all injuries. That's like I usually ask, right? Sean, as you've noticed, my go-to question is if he busts,
yes,
what's going to be the reason? But we know for Ladd, it's going to be an injury issue.
Right. And it's all knees and back. And it's the back that scares me more than knee. You can get over knee injuries. You can isolate your knee. You can, exercise it, physical therapy. You can do that. You can't do that with your back. It connects to everything. Once your back goes, you're done. So that would be the bust. That would be his.
To add on to there for bust potential with Ladd McConkey is all of his production came in a really small sample size. So is it that he was just used in a super specific, super small sample size sort of way, and that once more film is there on him, that he could be stopped? I don't know. That would be the other potential worry. But yeah, injuries are the real big thing for him. And with the frame, the injuries, I see him sneaking into top 30 of some NFL mock drafts, and that concerns me. Granted, there's not a huge difference in going 33 to the Panthers. I think makes a lot of sense, but the more he sneaks up, if he's in the 20s, I would be a little rich for my blood. But in fantasy drafts, I think he's early second, late first. I think is totally reasonable depending on where he goes.
All right, well, gentlemen, we had a Rome receiver. So I think it's time for us to move to the Roman receiver, Roman Wilson out of Michigan. Sean, what do you think about the Wolverine?
He's just like a Wolverine here. He's a little small and he's very feisty. Yeah, no claws. Though.
Oh, different Wolverine.
Different Wolverine.
That we know. Of. Yeah. Have you seen him and Wolverine in the same room?
That's true. I mean, the colors match up. I don't know. I'm going to be watching a movie later this year, and if he pops up, I'll let y'all know.
Thank you.
But so this guy, I'm really looking forward to that, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
So all right, straight face, focus. Here we go. Roman Wilson, I feel like, is a jack of all and a master of none. I feel like he does everything very well, but not great. He could run. He has speed. He has really good speed, actually. As far as
4.39
getting
speed for Roman Wilson.
Yeah. Way better than I let on. He doesn't drop the ball. He's great at getting open. He gets open consistently. He has good speed. He has good quickness. He's very good at his routes. He's not great, but he's really good at everything. That's the best I got for him. What you got, Joe?
Yeah, so with Roman Wilson, the first note I have in my scouting report for his weaknesses is that he needs to slow down. It's that he's going 100 miles an hour at all times. Sometimes kind of take a chill pill. Round your route, throw off, change speeds a little bit. Don't throw yourself at a 245-pound linebacker when you're 185. Don't do that. You're little comparatively. But he has great production as well. 79.2% of his catches this season went for a first down or touchdown. That is absurd. Run-heavy offense, lower targets, yes, but also he's really good there. Another note I have for him is the one thing this is really what I thought his best trait was, aside from the 4.39 speed, is getting open during the scramble drill. Just that spatial awareness, knowing where everyone is on the field and finding a hole in the zone where the quarterback can see you. He and JJ McCarthy made some magic there a couple times, just like scrambling around. And then there's Roman Wilson for another first down on 3rd and 8. Another one where first round is a little rich, but he's going to be a really good receiver, I think, for a long time.
So do you think in his rookie year, he has wide receiver 2 potential? Like not wide receiver 2 overall, but that 13 through 24 range.
I think no, not quite. Just he gets caught in press a lot and in man coverage. I think he needs a little bit of time to not get stronger per se. He is strong. The strength staff they had in Michigan was top tier, but just kind of get used to just how different it is in, week out.
Sean, do you think he can ever be a wide receiver 2?
I do. I mean, we've seen guys similar in stature, and like I said, he's very solid at everything. He is a quarterback's friend. Like I said, working back to the quarterback, so he has great awareness there. So I could see him being a PPR monster maybe one day. Probably, never just a big yardage guy, but I could see him rocking out 100 receptions, still catching high 900 yards, 1,000 yards, whatever, and some touchdowns. Yeah, I could see him doing well in that aspect for sure.
Awesome, gentlemen. Well, let's move on to the wide receiver number 10, Malachi Corley from the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. What a great name.
Such a great name.
Joe?
Yeah, I can start off on Corley. He is an interesting receiver prospect. He was very much used in that Deebo Samuel type role. I think he's more of a Rashee Rice than a Deebo Samuel. He's not that overwhelming of an athlete, but then again, who is? He's a very raw receiver. You look at it here on his yards after reception. He went from 5.5 in 2021 to 9.7 to 8.6. He's almost getting a first down after the catch every play. And you look one column over, his contested catch rate, that's a little lower. It's pretty low. A lot of that is just he wasn't used there very often. Very limited route tree with that, but he is explosive, catches the ball well, and he's a very strong player. You see, breaks arm tackles. You saw him break tackles from linebackers consistently. Very much feels like that wide receiver in a running back's body. And yeah, he's going to take some time though, but the upside I think is really, really there.
Now, I know his yak is great, but he doesn't really run clean routes. You kind of mentioned that. And he definitely wasn't targeted often on middle and deep levels. So
another stat for that is 75% of his catches were within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Right. So, I mean, do we think that is he capable of being an NFL slot receiver, mostly working with short targets and like manufactured touches, Sean?
Yeah, but you're going to have to manufacture those targets for him. Like I don't know what the separation would be like. I do think it would be a little bit of a struggle for him. And then again, it comes to how crisp he's going to run the routes. He is raw, but he is exciting. Just the yards per reception there. That's almost moving the chains. So if I'm running the ball 2-3 yards, boom, I'm turning around, hit him. We're at first down. We can do that all the way down the field. So the potential there to be a PPR slot guy is there, and I think that's probably the most exciting part of his game.
So, Joe, what would be like? Would he need to land with a great OC who's going to know how to utilize him? Sort of like Debo with Shanahan. Like Debo might not be Debo if he was in another offensive system, right?
Yeah, I definitely think Corley needs to go into a good system. I don't think he needs to go to a Kyle Shanahan or an Andy Reid, but definitely an upper level one and somewhere where he is the third option right away, maybe even the fourth. He's not someone who I would even consider in a redraft league, but yeah, I think he does need to go to a good spot with a decent quarterback where someone can use him, whether it's outside, slot, just kind of very gadgety at first.
So that's a very good point you make about redraft versus dynasty. I always, Ryder Dynasty, I look at the dynasty aspect. So of these top 10 wide receivers so far that we talked about, how many of them do you think you would draft in a redraft league?
At least 4.
Yeah, I would for sure draft the top 3 in earlier rounds, but then it really depends on landing spots. A Mitchell and a Brian Thomas are players I would want to grab, but they would definitely be redraft stashes.
Right.
Just give him some time. A Lad McConkey honestly probably could be wide receiver 4 amongst that group right away. Just pop and play. But yeah, a Keon Coleman I would be really concerned about. Polk really depends on landing spot. Then Corley as well I wouldn't touch. Roman Wilson also probably wouldn't want to.
Yeah, we're going to find out a lot more by the beginning of May, right? Following the draft. And I think everything starts to clear up around that point. Speaking of somebody who, I don't know if anybody double counted his speed then versus his 40 at the combine, but Xavier Worthy out of Texas, 5'11", 165. Joe, what do I need to know about this speedster?
Well, speed is correct. He broke the combine 40-yard dash mark, 4.21 seconds. Just absolutely insane long speed. And it definitely showed up on film. I'm not sure if 4.21 showed up on film, but the first run of a 4.25 was not shocking at all. He is all speed. Main issue with him is hands, though I do think that was very overblown. We talked about it on a mock draft Monday that he had a broken hand for a lot of that he was playing through for a lot of drop issues. He is very good at getting separation. He's quick and fast, which you see a lot of quicker than fast slot guys. He is both. Also, I am scared about his size. 165, 175 is probably the max frame he can get to, but he's not a big receiver. He has had injuries. Doesn't win contested catches well. Last 2 years on 38.5 and 23.8%. A lot of yards after the catch. And honestly, for someone with deep speed, I wasn't super impressed with his deep ball tracking.
Yes.
Which is concerning. If you want, that's the thing with Malachi Corley, who also wasn't good at it, but then you get him the ball underneath and he's going to break 3 tackles. Can someone who's 170 pounds, give or take, do that? I don't know.
Yeah, Joe, that was one of my big concerns. He was 261st in deep completion percentage in college, right? Wow, he got 6 of, 6 out of 23 deep passes caught this past his 2023 season. Now, again, like I always, it's hard for me. I'm not a college fan, so I'm never quite sure. Is it the player or is it the quarterback?
Yeah, right? There's definitely questions there with Quinn Ewers, but I don't think it's that bad. I assume Adonai Mitchell was a lot higher.
He was. So that's my biggest concern with Xavier Worthy. I know, the Slim Reaper, Devonta Smith sort of broke that, the worrisome about the weight. And of course, every time somebody's light and fast, they always mention Deshaun Jackson. And now Tank Dell, right? They're talking about Tank Dell also being light and fast and making it. But
and missing 10
I don't know,
games.
Sean. Yeah, I know. Sean, where are you?
I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
Just look at Tank Dell. I mean, he started the season injured and he ended the season injured, different injuries. But in between, he showed some really good flashes. But I don't know that Xavier Worthy is the same type of receiver that Tank Dell is. I do think Tank Dell is way better, honestly. I don't know what you would do with Worthy. Would you just drop him back and put him on punts? I mean, he's small enough to hide behind the line if they're, actually running. You might come up with some screen passes for him, but again, 165, man, that's asking to get obliterated.
Yeah. I don't know. With Worthy, it's my comp for him is actually Hollywood Brown. I feel like he plays very similarly. I think Hollywood might be a little bigger.
Yeah,
sure, we've never thought, and we've seen Hollywood Brown some electric time, but also a lot of injuries. And yeah, I want to get
which is
him
why he's not a Raven.
Yeah, and he's going to leave the Cardinals this offseason.
And they disappear.
Speed is electric. Yeah,
they disappear in a lot of games.
In a one quarterback league, he's probably still worth an end of the first round pick just in case. Just that talent it's there. Like that speed you can't coach. And unlike a John Ross or a Darius Hayward Bay, who have also run insane 40s and then gone in the first round, Worthy is a real wide receiver. Like he can run routes, he can catch most of the time, but yeah, I'm scared. That's why this is the reason why he and the next name are low on my list and why I was very low on Tank Dell.
Just based on his 40 time, I think he will be overdrafted both in the NFL and in fantasy. So there's a good chance I'm not going to have to worry about it, to be honest with you. But
yeah,
because everybody's looking at speed, and that's not the way to go here.
Yeah, Al Davis is gone, so
that's true.
Hopefully. Otherwise, if Al Davis was still around, he might be a top 10 pick this year.
Trade up to get
trading
him.
Up. God rest your soul, Al Davis. Sorry, buddy. I don't want to besmirch you. All right, gentlemen, let's finish off our top 12 with Troy Franklin Jr. Joe?
Yeah. Similar concerns with Xavier Worthy. He's 6'2", 175 plus, 180 in that range. It's the frame scares me. And then at the combine, he ran a 4.41, still really good speed. At first, I was disappointed because I thought he could be more 4.31, but in the end, 4.41, it's still super fast. He had 8 catches of 40 plus yards this year, just absolute deep threat. However, I don't know how much more he is than just a deep shot sort of player. He does run good routes, intermediate wise, short. Don't think there's much yards after catch ability, but he's very much a zone hunter, can find the gap in the defense. You look here, he had good yards after the catch numbers this past season, less so the year before. I've really gone back and forth with him. Coming into the year, he was my wide receiver 4, I think. But then, and even when we were starting to plan for this, and a couple weeks ago, he was up at 8, and just been trending down on him. Just the frame, feel like he's pretty limited overall. Drops a lot of passes. I think he has the worst hands outside of maybe Corley of anyone on this list. And Corley, I think, is more. We talked about that, why that's a little different of a case, but. Yeah, he could be really good, but I don't know. I'm concerned. He could just be Jalen Hyatt or Jameson Williams. I think he's very similar to Jameson Williams, but doesn't have the wiggle as much.
Okay.
I don't think he has an underneath ability like Jameson Williams did, who I was also super high on. So
fair enough. Sean, Troy Franklin.
Yeah, so looking at the combine stuff there, I mean, he looked not so great technique-wise, and just kind of, I don't know if it was nerves or what, but if you get nervous at the combine and everything snowballs, that tells me it's going to happen in the middle of a game, where one little mistake turns into, I'm giving up for the whole game. So I feel like that was a show of character there that was a bit of a red flag as well. As far as him carving out a role on a team, can he just be a deep threat speedster? Does he really go up and get the jump balls? I feel like it was very inconsistent. So I don't know what kind of role you get with this guy. I think he's a project. He has some skills. And again, maybe it was just nerves. Maybe just, picked the worst day to have his worst day. Pro day might save him. If we can see him, basically change everything he did at the combine and improve on technique and just flexibilities and everything, I think it would show his dedication levels and would pull him back up as far as NFL draft goes.
Yeah. Now, normally, gentlemen, when we're doing a top list, I would then ask you at this point, like, are there any other players you wanted to mention who didn't make the top 12? However, we're going to be doing a pod next week. We're going to cover the next 12. So we're going to get into more detail about this second tier of wide receivers. Now, these aren't guys you're going to be taking in redraft, but this is with a dynasty focus. Like, who are you drafting in rounds 3 and 4 of your rookie drafts? Who are you looking to add, right? Keep on that speed dial for the waiver runs that are going to happen. Who do we need to be made aware of? But for now, we're going to end. And gentlemen, it is time for tags, where you can share any final thoughts that you have about the players we talked about or anything else, and let everyone know where they can find you. Sean?
So I am riding or dying with Brian Thomas in most of my rookie drafts. So he's the guy I'm really targeting. He's the one I find most exciting, most polarizing with his potential. I think he has, a definite role on day one as a deep threat that could turn into a fully developed wide receiver in a year or two. And then if I'm wrong, you can hit me up on X at Sean8386 and let me know about it.
All right, Joseph.
I'm very similar, but with Adonai Mitchell and Jalen Polk. Those are my guys this year, outside of the top 3, which, yeah, they're awesome. You can find me on X at Jolo63. I am working on my mock draft 2.0 right now. I actually just finished the picks and just need to get it submitted for posting next week. JJ, I don't know if you're going to love it for your Jets. I'm sorry. We went a little weird.
Wait,
the
what?
goal was weird. The goal was weird. We went a little weird.
Oh.
That sounds like the Jets.
Yes.
Oh, that's enough at it. You know what? You know what, gentlemen? This is my fault. I shouldn't even be keeping these things up. You are all gone. I am finished with you. You can find me at JJ Wenner on Twitter or X. Make sure you visit idpguys.org. Use the code MOCKDRAFT for the first month for $1. And from all of us, or maybe just me, to all of you, be safe, be well, and remember, never say anything to make a meeting longer or cut a happy hour short. Boat drinks, my friends. Boat drinks.